Hi, vulnerable community. It's Rob back for video number 3. Come around pretty quickly. Again, this was a video that I wasn't necessarily intending to make at this time. But hey, there all these competitions keep coming up, and I'm a real sucker for doing competitions. So I can't resist. And Dillon's a great guy, and when I saw the challenge, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna have a go at that. We'll see what we can come up with. So yeah, I mean, obviously Dillon, Noble Records, fantastic channel. Been watching his videos for a long time. Loving the stuff that he shows. I know he really loves his blues and sort of psychedelia and stuff, and obviously bootlegs and things like that. A lot of stuff that I don't collect myself, but it's always really interesting to see, and he's clearly really passionate about it. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is the passion. And it doesn't matter what music anybody's into, what they listen to, whether it's cool, whether it's trendy, whether the stuff's valuable. It makes no difference at all. The main thing is that you love it, and you get off on it, and it makes you feel happy, and it improves the quality of your life, and that's what music is all about, really, at the end of the day, isn't it? So there you go. Anyway, so enough of the philosophy, and let's get on with Dillon's competition. So obviously, first of all, Dillon, many congratulations. 7,000 subscribers is just, yeah, it's just mind-blowingly good. Incredible. It's just out there in the stratosphere. It's just amazing, but it's well deserved, because you've got a great channel, and you really go for it. As I say, your passion is is irrefutable, and you deliver every week when you upload your videos. So fantastic. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to get on with your competition. So 7 questions, and I've got some stuff here which I've prepared, that I hope I hope will be interesting. I don't know. That's up to whoever's watching this. So it's a Friday night. I'm on the Hop House Ale Lager again, and it's going down a treat, and it's actually helping me clear my mind a little bit, but also keeping me quite relaxed. So here we go anyway. So okay, cheers everybody. So okay, the first question is best finds. Okay, now this first one is going to be very controversial, particularly for you guys in the US, because you're going to look at this record and go, what, really? Best find? He's jesting. But seriously, okay. So, okay. This is one of my best finds in the UK. Yep, you've all seen it. It is obviously Herb Albert and the Tamana Grass, Brass even, Whipped Cream and Other Delights. Okay. Now, the reason this is my best finds is because, believe it or not, Herb Albert isn't that popular in the UK. Obviously, he's an American artist. You see them in abundance, thousands and thousands of times, every thrift shop, everywhere you go, possibly every collection Dillon that you probably pick up has got a copy of Herb Albert Whipped Cream and Other Delights. However, in the UK, you don't actually see this record very much. Okay, the reason I say it's a best find is partly because of that, but also because my local record shop, Ben, he turned around to me and he said, "Do you know what, Rob?" He said, "I'd love to see a copy of Herb Albert's Two on a Brass Whipped Cream and Other Delights, but I never see it." Basically because, obviously he clearly likes the cover. I mean, a pretty girl covered in whipped cream, that's, well, yeah, speaks volumes, I suppose, doesn't it? But, and to be fair, I'd never heard this album. I'd heard, Herb Albert. I've got a couple of his LPs. But this particular album I'd never seen. It's typical, isn't it, when somebody asks you to look out for it, if you can see a copy, he said, like, pick one up for me. So I went to about 2 or 3 record fairs and I looked through everything and I literally couldn't find it anywhere. But I ended up going to an antique shop, probably about 20 miles from here, just on a whim on a Saturday afternoon, and it was upstairs. And there was it's one of those antiques fairs where the vendor isn't actually there, so he's just got he's got the boxes with the records in and the prices and so on, but there's nobody there to actually serve you. You have to go to the main till, and then they obviously charge it, and he gets the money, kind of thing. So yeah, I saw this, and it was about £3 or £4, something like that, which in terms of dollars, it was seriously expensive, So, but he was, he was delighted, and so he had the album. This isn't obviously the original album that I gave to him. This was another copy that I found, but it was about 6 months later. I went down, I was on holidaying in Bournemouth, which is, for those not in the UK, it's on the south coast of England. And it was a record shop that just had loads and loads of cheapy stuff. And I was flipping through and I found it, and it was a couple of quid, something like that. So I bought it. So that's my first best find. Herb Albert and the Two on a Brass even. Okay, my next best find, and this is genuinely a really really best find. I'd heard of this artist, but I'd never heard her stuff. And I went into my local record shop, and my mate turned around to me and he said, "Have you looked through the new arrivals bins?" And I said, "Well, I haven't yet." And he said, "I've got an artist called Judy Sill." I said, "Oh, okay, I've heard of her, but never heard her stuff." And this was what he pulled out. This is obviously Judy Sill's debut. This is an original UK press. As you know, this is the first album ever released on the David Geffen's Asylum Records label. So, but yeah, he put it on, and the first side, and when Lady O came on, I was absolutely sold. I absolutely loved it. I'd never heard anything anything like this at all. This was just absolutely incredible. Just her voice, the beauty of her voice, the I mean, it sounds like innocence almost, but I mean, when you see her interviewed, you realise that she's not innocent at all. She was actually quite a hard, well, she'd led a very, very hard life. I mean, she'd been into drugs, she'd been arrested, she'd been in prison, um, had a real hard time of it. And it's almost like this is kind of like redemption songs, where, a lot of Christian kind of imagery and feel, and some of them are like, they're like prayers, the songs, and they absolutely just hit you right here in the heart, like nothing else I'd heard for years. And he wanted £40 for this record, which is a lot of money. It's the most expensive record I've ever bought, but I just thought I have to have it, because it's just every single song just resonated so much with me, and the pain and the feel of the songs, but also there's joy in here as well. It's not all dark, and when you get stuff that's bittersweet, which, let's face it, a lot of life is like that, and you hear it articulated as well as this. That's really, really special indeed, and it doesn't come along very often. So absolutely, hands down, this Judy Sill's first album is my best ever find, even though technically it wasn't a find because I was drawn to it, but God, I'm so glad that he did. Really, seriously, Ben, if you're watching this video, thank you so much, mate. This made my year, literally. I've played this record endlessly so many times. It's fabulous. So Judy Sill, my best find. God, the second one, best song ever written. That's a really difficult one to answer, because there's so many songs. And is it the best song that is your favorite? Not your favorite song necessarily, but the best song you think ever written? That's really difficult. I mean, I guess my favorite band are the Beatles, and my favorite song of the Beatles, which I keep going back to, is one of the first songs I ever heard by them, is Ticket to Ride. And it was on this album, which was Beatles' Oldies but Goldies album, 1966 compilation. This isn't an original, this is a Fame 80s reissue, as with quite a lot of my records. My record collection isn't worth an awful lot of money intrinsically, but what I think about the music and the songs themselves, and how they affect me and have affected my life and my soul, is the cost is, it doesn't even come into it. It's not money. It's nothing about money. Money is immaterial. The songs on this album. This was actually the first LP record I ever listened to. My mum had an original copy of this, which I listened to back in the 70s, probably when I was 5 or 6 years old. and I absolutely love this album. I'd never heard the Beatles before. I didn't know who they were. Um, you know, it was just a record that was there along with a load of classical records of my dad's, and Gilbert and Sullivan and Beethoven and stuff like that. But this was a pop record, although it wasn't pop obviously at the time when I listened to it, because it was already 10 years old. But yeah, I mean, just obviously just such a fantastic compilation, because it goes through you starts off with She Loves You. I mean, what a herald to, is She Loves You. I mean, fantastic, and then From Me to You, We Can Work It Out. But Ticket to Ride was the one. I don't know why that song resonated with me so much. It was probably because it's those chiming guitars, it's just like fantastic. It's almost birds-like, but just a really big sound. I think Lennon was quoted as saying it was almost like the first heavy metal song, because of the sound of it. I mean, whether he was influenced by The Who at the time, it was 1965, I don't know. But it's just a fantastic song. The lyrics, I think I'm going to be sad. I think it's today. Girl that's driving me mad is going away. I mean, it's just about as earthy as you get, and yet it's kind of uplifting as well. Again, it's that bittersweet thing, and I love that in music. And Ticket to Ride for me has that in abundance, and I love that. That's why, for me, I would say that it's the best song ever written. It probably isn't, but there you go. Anyway, number 3. How do you keep track of your collection? Well, I'll tell you how I keep track of my collection. I don't. No, I really don't. But I do have a book where I write down alphabetically, I might add. Very, very simple, just brown ring-bind A5 book. And it starts at A with ABC, the Lexicon of Love, and it goes all the way through, not to Zappa, but it goes through to the Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle, which is incidentally is a reissue. It's not an original press. I'll show it sometime. There you go. So yeah, that's how I keep track of my collection. I also cross some of these out because every now and again I have a purge, probably like a lot of people. You look at your records and you think, oh, I need to sell a few. To me, I haven't got much room here. I've only got a few storage cubes. But there you go. Question 4: the one record you'd never sell. I didn't have to think very hard about this. It's actually 2 records, and these were records that my dad owned, who's sadly no longer with us. And these were Tom Lehrer records. These are original Decca releases from the late 1950s. Tom Lehrer, I'm sure you probably know, was a satirist, writer. Used to write novelty songs on the piano. But he was actually a really intelligent guy. He went to Harvard University and was a maths professor, I think. My father saw him in the probably late 50s, something like that. I'm not sure whether my mum and dad were married, but they both went to see him anyway in Birmingham when he toured. And these records, that's Songs by Tom Lehrer, which was the first one, and then More of Tom Lehrer, which was the follow-up. And what makes this quite special is that it's got a stamp on there. I don't know whether you can see that up here, but it actually says the Music House Nairobi in Kampala, and that's because my dad bought this when he was doing his national service in Kenya, and I think he sold some. He sold them. He had a little bit of a record store, so he'd go and buy records and he'd sell them at a bit of a profit, just to make a bit of money while he was out there. Because I don't think they earned very much money when they were doing that, and they were out there. So, but yeah, these are very special, and they're very funny, very witty. Probably some of the humor is a bit dated now because obviously it's 50, 60, 50 odd years ago. So, but yeah, Tom Lehrer, with my dad's records, I'd never sell these. Favorite music and record related documentary. I don't think about that. I think probably my favorite is the documentary that was put out about the Isle of Wight festival from 1970, which I don't have. I don't have a copy to show. I don't have it on video or DVD. I'd like to get it. It's my intention to get it. But yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it. They televised it here in the UK back in the 90s, I think it was. I saw it early 90s for the first time, and just an amazing cultural, experience, or it must have been for people who experienced it at the time. You'd had kind of Monterey and Woodstock, and it was kind of, I think, heralded as the last great, sort of pop festival of the hippie era, or certainly the end of the 60s, because it was 1970, wasn't it? So, but yeah, and you watch that, and you see the Ricky guy, who was one of the guys who was the organizer of it, and I can't remember his surname, but he was really struggling to hold it together and get the money in to pay the art. They couldn't even get the money in to pay the artists. The Doors and the Who and all these, Joni Mitchell, these huge names and artists at the time, and it was at risk of just collapsing because they literally didn't have enough money to do it, to pay the artists. And you got like the guys, the hippies that were there, because so many people were turning up, no tickets, demanding to get in, saying it should be a free festival, which it should have been, really, I guess. But and they sort of create this this kind of anti-establishment thing, where they were like fighting against the police and the dogs and all the rest of it. And it's the same old story, really, isn't it? It's people fighting against the establishment still going on today as we speak, probably as relevant now as it was then. But anyway, I digress. So Isle of Wight Festival documentary, that's my favorite music related documentary anyway. Favorite record you received as a gift? I would say it's this one, which is the Fleet Foxes collection that my mum very kindly got for me last year. This is 2006 to 2009, so this is all their stuff, which is pre their first album, and it's just it's just fantastic. You've got all these handwritten lyrics from Robin Pecknold, of course. There's a copy of the first album, which I had on CD and just played endlessly when it came out. I love this album. Yeah, on None Such Records. And then, of course, it's got this EP, which is fabulous, which was all the stuff that they did before the first album. The demos like She's Got Dressed, Hot Hot Rays, yeah, Icicle Tusk, just really, really great songs. I love this. This is one of my favorites. And then all the B-sides. And of course, the Sun Giant EP, which was the which I had actually with the there was a double CD that came out when the album was first released, and it came out with this 10. This is the 10-inch, but it came out on CD as well as a double set. So, but yeah, I was really, really pleased to get this because I didn't have their first album on CD or the EPs or any of the early stuff. So that's the Fleet Foxes' first collection. That's my favourite record I received as a gift. And finally, my listening ritual. Well, basically that's quite easy to answer because I come here, which is my mum's attic at the house that I grew up in. And I come here every Friday after work and I listen to music. I come here after work, I get here for about 5 o'clock and I just listen to music until it's time for my mum to go to bed, which is usually about 11 o'clock. So I get about 6 hours of pure listening pleasure, just thumbing through my record collection, playing whatever comes to mind. Sometimes I just dip in and play individual songs because, there's not enough hours in the day. Listening to whole albums is sometimes prohibitively difficult because it's so long. And and I'm just very lucky to be able to come here and have a chill out once a week after working. And it's probably like a lot of you guys out there, you use music for relaxation and enjoyment, and it's a meditative thing. And it's all those things for me. I love it. I just love music. I love the way that it makes you feel. I love the fact that it exists. I love the variety of music. Thank God we've got it in this shitty, horrible world where, most of the time I don't even want to turn on the news app on my phone because it's just varying degrees of horrible news. So, I come to this room and it's like a bubble that protects me from the world, and I can just chill out, enjoy music as it's meant to be enjoyed, because it is a universal language. And on that note, I'm going to say good night. Thank you for listening. This is another horrendously long video. What are we up to? Nearly 30 minutes. I can only imagine how tedious this must be for anybody watching this. But anyway, Dillon, if you can be bothered to, because I'm sure you're going to get thousands of entries for your competition. If you get round to entering me, that'd be fabulous. Even if you don't, if you just get to watch this at some stage, that'd be great as well. But good luck with it. And good luck to everybody who's taking part in this competition. This is my third video now for the VC. I promise that the next video I do will not be a competition video. It'll be one of the videos I'm going to put out to talk about music that I really, really love. But then I always talk about music I love anyway, because I can't help it. I love music. And anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Cheers, guys. Have a great weekend. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.